Hi there. What's non-duality? Non-duality is just a concept, I guess, which states that there aren't two things. So whatever there is not made up of any kind of opposing forces. So the implication of this is that everything is already complete. Yeah. Non-duality says that there are not two things. It doesn't say that there is one thing or that there is wholeness, like that there is oneness, I mean. But the fact that it would seem insignificant, but the fact that there aren't two opposing forces means that the whole scenario of conflicting forces, good and evil, better and worse, and all this, has no validity. So it's a human invention. Yeah, it's literally, you could say, an abuse of the ability to think and the ability to use language, which is one of the skills or abilities that humans have, which is unique to humans. Like other animals have other unique abilities. Yeah. The fact is that there's an assumption among humans that this ability that to think and to use language makes us special, and that's where all the trouble starts. Um, and because the ability to think by definition is free, it has to be free, otherwise it doesn't even have any meaning. It's like if a dog has an acute ability to smell, it wouldn't make any sense if he can smell some things but not others. Like um, it wouldn't be alive. So the fact that we can think up anything also means that we can think up things which aren't true. Yeah, we can express things in words about reality that aren't so. And that's the source of all the conflict. So even the word evil is a word that has created a concept which isn't true, which doesn't exist by nature. Why doesn't it mean oneness? Because non-duality just means not dual. It's not two. It doesn't say that it's one. You could say that because oneness would still be, there's still someone observing the oneness. Yeah. It, it's very simple and very clear, is that there is no dualism, that there are no, fundamentally, at the very root, let's say, there isn't a split. There aren't two opposing forces. Yeah. There are complementary forces. There are the complementarity of day and night and up and down, and it it makes for physical expression. Without that, you wouldn't be able to see things. Yeah. um, this physical reality wouldn't be apparent without these kind of, without how do we say, variety. And there can be complementary forces but not opposed forces, not things which are in conflict. It's totally seamless. So if you have, say you have a, if you bring it to two dimensions, yeah, you have like a piece of paper or a white surface. If that surface goes on forever, how can you say that it's one or oneness? You can say that it's singular, You could say that, but it's even that's kind of saying too much. So if you have a white board, a white surface, yeah, just two dimensions, or three. Say you have a white piece of paper, but it's kind of everywhere and it's everything, and it goes on indefinitely. Then who would be the one? Then where's the point from which you can say it's one? It's all there is. Anyway, these are semantics, really. It's not an important distinction even. It's just the beauty of the term non-duality is that it doesn't go further than expressing that there are not two things, precisely because there is this uh, point from which you have to say that something is one, which and this point doesn't exist. So even the that which is saying something in words is essentially talking about itself, because it's not distinct from what it's talking about. So the term oneness is often used within spirituality, so called, um, to say things like we are all one, and yeah, we should realize that we are all one. But that oneness is it's exclusive. It says it pertains to humans, and the beauty of saying that in essence there are not two things, it kind of wipes it makes it possible to have a conversation on with a basis, um, of there not being any distinctions between better and worse. So it kind of nullifies the human default, not natural, but nowadays, let's say the way uh, human beings organize themselves, yeah, the way society is, the way the effect of conditioning is such that the human perspective is one of is a faulty one, yeah, and the outward expression of that is the chaos you see in the world. This claiming this ego activity of this superior position among everything that exists, it's an expression of a perceived, an imagined duality, forces of good and evil, better and worse. Like if there's an evil, then I have a reason to be the good one who fights evil. So then I can feel better about myself. And if you wheel that back, there is an assumption about us, an assumption of a sense of lack, as if there is a lack. And that's the whole crux of the matter, that there is no lack. Are you familiar with David Hawkins? I might have heard the name, but no. Vaguely rings a bell, but I have no idea what from. You should look him up. I think you'll like him. Hmm. I'm not really interested in, um, yeah, in listening about to things about this topic. This is just an opportunity to have a discussion about the subject, which is an interesting conversation, but it's not anything more than that. And I wouldn't deliberately go looking for what someone else might say about this, you know? Especially because then it's kind of like a there's like a filtering of, um, whether it's actually genuine or not, and because there's so much nonsense about this very subject, unfortunately. So what are we going to do with this non-duality according to you? Nothing. Like I just said, it's just a conversation about the subject. That's all. It's just purely for the enjoyment of talking about this subject. It's a conversation that you don't have every day. It's a conversation that, um, I mean, it's nice that it's even possible to address this. You know, it's kind of magical, actually. And what would we do with it? It's like saying, what will we do with the sky? You know, but the conversation about it, it does have a lot of scope. Like it's a field in which so many things can be addressed or seen or understood or, um, yeah, it's like it's an opportunity to shine a light on certain things that we take for granted and, mistaken beliefs and mistaken ideas about reality, about life, about love, about everything. And essentially, the that which the term points to, which is that there are not two things, implies this sense, this lack of, lack. Yeah, that there is no lack. Actually, that's what it implies, and that implies abundance and freedom. So that our miseries are actually not real. Um, they are just they're a ruse, kind of like uh, a lie that we tell ourselves, and they are based on this imagined sense of lack. It sure will have an effect on our lives, maybe now or maybe in the future, like every discovery. Yeah, I would say maybe joy. You know, it can bring joy, but can also bring fear to people, like, because it basically says that we're not important. We're not important like we think we are. And if we have spent a whole lifetime constructing all these images about ourselves, how important we are, or how we're like this, we're like that, for that to just like that gets its head chopped off, that can be pretty scary. And it's a discovery in one sense, it's a discovery, or you could say it's a reminder. It's not nothing new. It's not anything that we don't know. Like, you know, it's there wouldn't be a resonance if it wasn't already clear. It's never been created. It's always the way it is already. Our conversation about it comes after the fact. you could say. Yeah. So it's just an enjoyment of the conversation, that's all. Do you think non-duality essentially means that we're not important? It actually, yeah, it's difficult. We can't say anything absolute with words, okay? That's the bottom line. But, it definitely undercuts the self-importance that we walk around with every day, yeah. The self-importance among humans is so huge that it creates all the carnage that we see, all the disharmony, all the conflict comes from that, only that. Yeah, and it's the this human perspective has become so airtight that it actually turns things around back to nature, saying that there is some evil part of nature, life is hard. Somewhere there is some badness or evil within the fabric of things, within life, or the way things are, or nature, that we're always faced with some difficulty, sometimes good, sometimes bad, things go up and down and all this. Yeah. So that makes it kind of airtight. Then the one who actually causes the disharmony is always out of the picture and doesn't get looked at as the source. Yeah. It's like the in the Wizard of Oz, the wicked witch. Yeah. It's just some scared old man behind a curtain trying to cast a big shadow. What need is there any what need is there even for the word importance? What is importance? If you see take nature, for example, yeah, take imagine that there were no human beings. See the harmony of nature, see the weather, the change of the seasons, the plants, the rocks, the animals, all the atmospheric conditions. It's magic. It's a mystery. Yeah. So within that, what's important? Like everything is important. The bird is important, and the rock, but the rock maybe a bit less because it's supposedly not alive, and then the plant is a little bit more important, and then the animals, and then humans. That's our construction. That's a perspective that casts like a web over everything and makes um, conclusions about things that aren't actually so. That there are not two things also implies that there is no absolute observer of something. Yeah. So a thing and its observer. it's this juxtaposition is useful for uh, being able to talk about things because you have perspective, but it's relative. It's not an absolute, and we think it's an absolute. So people should view themselves as being not important, insignificant. Well, no, and there's the whole crux of the matter. Like this, so people should do for what? Presumably to feel better or to have a more correct perspective, or what's this should? Where is it going? Like, what's the direction? If everything is already full and complete, yeah, then what's the should? Where is the should trying to go? And this is like taking one extreme to the other. Like if there is actually no importance, doesn't mean it's insignificant. For these kind of confusions, the easiest thing is to take whatever issue you might see or think there is, yeah, or hurdle to understanding or some problem or whatever. See it, take away all descriptions and words about it, and then see what's left of it. And then what would you actually call that? And then you would see that these kind of questions are just kind of like, well, how should I categorize this? And where in my filing cabinet, which I've already established, where should I sort this thing? Yeah. So everything is complete and okay as it is. I didn't say anything about okay. Yeah, everything is complete as it is. Of course it is. It's logical that everything is complete already. If there is whatever there is, yeah, we can call it a mystery, we can call it energy, you can call it whatever you want. If it's singular, if it's not made up of two opposing forces, and if it doesn't have an opposite to it, how could it not be complete? How could there be any lack in it? It's not logically possible, or it's not possible in any way. Then suffering is not a problem. No, suffering doesn't actually exist. You see how it's an assumption of something, so suffering, that's like taken as a given. Um, and you're saying it's not a problem or not an issue to be solved. That's the self-importance, yeah? That's the self-importance that humans have the role. We are the ones who can fix things and sort things, and we're gonna manage nature, and we're gonna tame it, and we fucked it up, so now we're gonna protect it and everything, right? It's part of the completeness. No, it's non-existent. There is no such thing as suffering. Suffering is a term that is invented by humans. It's a misnomer, means it describes something that doesn't exist. And this is kind of like a little bit of a typical take that, okay, then what about the suffering? What about cruelty? What about violence and all this? Yeah. And then the answer very often is, oh, well, that's just part of it, exactly like you're suggesting or asking. Um, it's just what's arising, what's happening, and so on. Yeah. It's a bit of a blunt and sometimes or often quite a stupid take, actually. Um, and very most often, it's a take that's something someone's heard someone else say, and now they're repeating it. Maybe the original utterance of it wasn't stupid, but it very quickly becomes stupid and stale when it's just repeated as, okay, well, then there's nothing to do, and blah, 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 blah. Actually, by nature, if there wasn't, imagine what this planet with all the species on it, yeah, exactly how it is, and humans, and there is no claiming at all from humans, no claiming of a position of superiority. Yeah, imagine humans are one of the animals, one of the species. Everyone gets on with their daily life, like all the other animals, all the biological processes that go on the planet. They're going on. Yeah, they're going on. There's a harmony to it. Um, Seeds fall from a tree. Trees grow. All the animals go about their business, find their food. But what do humans do? They parcel up the land, they make boundaries, they issue passports, yeah, this is not going about our business. It's making a dominion. It's setting ourselves up as even in our scriptures, it's written that we are the ones that everything was created for, and so on. We live our life that way. It's a worldview by which we live our life. So imagine if the planet was if there was only harmony, yeah? Humans, just as any other species, any other life form, go about their business uh, in harmony with nature, let's say, in symbiosis, yeah? Then what would you have to solve? Where would the suffering be? And do you really think then that, oh, there's nothing to be done? Yeah? What would actually happen is what happens with children. If you see a child playing, 1 minute is playing with its toys, then another child is playing with it, then the other child throws the toy away and it crashes against the wall and breaks, and then the kid whose toy it was is crying and so on, maybe hits the other kid. Yeah, that's just spontaneous, natural action. Yeah, emotions get expressed, issues get dealt with kind of quickly, then 5 minutes later they're playing again. Yeah, it's just trying to make an example. So to the point of there's nothing to do or everything is just fine as it is. No, by nature we wouldn't even tolerate if the planet was that way. If humans took their true place within nature, there wouldn't even be um, a question about is there something to do or is there not something to do. Our reactions would be healthy and spontaneous, and it includes saying no to certain things that don't feel right. Yeah, there would be no tolerance or acceptance of anything that's not harmonious. Yeah, so that puts away with the, oh, cruelty and all that is just kind of like it's just part of things that wouldn't be accepted. But what's going on now is that look at the situation, look at the political situation in the world. Who's speaking up? Hardly anyone. There is a tolerance. Yeah, how do certain people even get into the positions within governments that they do? Because of the lack of firmness of the people around them. It's not them, it's the will of the people, yeah, which is weak. If there was just basic firmness, there would already be complete freedom everywhere. Okay, but you can also say that actually freedom is already all that there is. And yes, even the ego is a mystery. Its origin is a mystery. So if you want to be really down with the non-duality lingo and all that, then you can always fall back on the, yeah, everything is just happening and there's nothing to do. And everything's okay as it is, yeah? But most of the time, like, if you say that, it kinda shows that you don't even know what you're talking about, that you've just heard something and then you're regurgitating it because it sounds like you know what you're talking about. But there's no question that cruelty, violence, all these kind of things are somehow harmonious. Of course not. Yeah, it's like if someone is suffering abuse and then suddenly takes on some non-dual, so-called non-dual perspective, says, "Well, there's nothing I can do. It's just the way it is." Yeah, it denies the fact that you can stand up and say, "Fuck off." That's as simple as that. And then the real non-duality police will come and say, "Yeah, but the fuck off is also just happening." Whoop-de-doo. It kills any joy of the conversation, in my opinion, because as in any other area of life, this subject of non-duality is also very full of claiming. It's just a basic conclusion to reach from what I've heard from you. I'm not parroting anyone else. You can answer it if you don't agree with it and submit your counter argument. Counter argument to what? And what do you mean about a basic conclusion to reach? I'm not sure I'm following. I'm not interested in any arguments or counter arguments. There's just a certain, there is the way things are, and there is all the other bullshit that we add to it and then make our lives miserable and call it suffering. I'm not saying you're parroting anyone. I'm just talking in general. There is a hell of a lot of parroting in this subject. No, on the contrary, it's nice that you're stimulating some conversation. Where are you writing from, by the way, if I may ask? Hey there, Artie McDonald. I'm finding more and more that circumstances and conditioning dictate our actions, whether or not we have a sense of a doer, which shows that renunciation and overindulgence are just ideas. Yeah, hell yes. Exactly. This whole thing of a sense of a doer is quite overrated. Yeah. Yeah, spot on. Couldn't agree more. In fact, if the whatever action happens is natural without the unnatural conditioning, let's say, then the whole question of a doer or not doer, it just dissolves. It doesn't have any meaning anymore. Really, this suggestion of there is a doer, there isn't a doer, it only has to do with the self-importance, like with the like just to give an example, yeah, like there are so many people who go about their life feeling extremely responsible for everything. Yeah. Like if I don't do something, nothing will happen. Those are the kind of classic things. That's really what's meant by there is no doer. It's the self importance that I'm responsible for making everything work. I'm responsible for other people's lives and so on and so on and so on and so on. But I didn't make the sunshine. I didn't make the oxygen in the air. I didn't grow the food in the earth. So who's really taking care of us? Where are you writing from, Artie MacDonald? And these kind of exactly this kind of duality, let's say renunciation and overindulgence, these opposing forces, they both belong in the system of what isn't so, of a human-made reality which is actually fictitious. Because overindulgence comes from what we call overindulgence comes from how do you say, from some kind of ego activity. It's a sense of lack, so then you're trying to fill it with overindulgence. And renunciation is the self-importance of, I now have to do something about that. How do we know that you are not claiming now? Then I don't know. Listen to your intuition. If you have your own integrity, then you'll get a feel for it. And if you think that I'm claiming now, why would you listen? New York City, hey, nice, amazing. A place full of major duality, but also great excitement. Yeah, I'm sure. I've never been, unfortunately, but I'm sure it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I was just this term of duality is actually, yeah, like I was saying in the beginning. Actually, we do need duality for things to make sense. We need to complementary forces to be able to have perspective, to be able to even see light and dark. And if it wasn't for that, then this physical appearance wouldn't even be possible. We wouldn't be able to talk. There wouldn't be a you and a me to have a conversation. And so it's just not absolute. Okay. So if you're saying a place full of major duality, you mean that the claiming, which is kind of the human system, that's quite strong everywhere. But yes, I guess especially strong in the Western Hemisphere, among others. It seems like I'm making let me start that again. It seems like I make an effort to remain non-dual as well. This is just part of what is, but feels ironic. I think it's also reinforced by physiological markers like lower heart rate when I think about this stuff. Yeah. I would say, first of all, leave out this is just part of what is. So what? Like, what's the need for that explanation? Or it's like some awareness that you need to maintain, that it's part of what is. So what? It's kind of, yeah. And any effort to, I mean, even the way you're describing it, it seems like you're aware that an effort to remain non-dual is nonsense. Because non-duality is, there is no being non-dual. It's not a state. It's a description of how things are already. Yeah, it's as dissonant this as saying, oh, when you're walking on the pavement, oh, I need to remember that in essence, like if you break it down to molecules and atoms and empty space, the I'm the same as the concrete of the pavement. Yeah, what's the point? Really, what's the point? And physiological markers like lower heart rate, you mean that if you, I don't know, take a beat or take a breath and you relax, or you listen to some talks about this subject, and you feel some chilled outness? Is that what you mean? Yeah, that's of course, because it's like the joy of having a meaningful conversation, yeah, a nice conversation. Like people will say this is a nice quality about people. Like if there's friendships, it's because you can have a nice conversation. You can be silly, but you can also have nice conversations that, yeah, you can open up, you can talk about stuff that's interesting. That's what this is. That's it. That's why it's nourishing. That's why it feels good. Like any interesting conversation, it doesn't have to be about non-duality. If it's love, as if there is love, of course it's nourishing. But this isn't some road to some kind of enlightenment or path to some kind of destiny where one day I'm going to live in a state where I just see everything exactly as it is all the time. And all that is complete nonsense. It's just to break things down to simplicity, to the fact that life is a gift. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Yeah. It's to take away the human importance. It's really looking at what creates whatever issues we see, not endlessly describing the way things are, and therefore hopefully reaching some kind of state of bliss. Because if you think about it, yeah, you tell me, if you think about life, take away the word, like just have a concept, have a sense of it maybe, and take away the word, what is it? It's mysterious. It's already, how can you get any more blissful than that? Humans are fully harmonious with nature, just with extra steps. By nature, yes, but with the abuse of our ability to think and the effect that we have on our own habitat, no, that's of course not harmonious. I just discovered your channel. You're incredible at articulating this. I'm 26 and have been watching others for 2 years. Don't even come close to you in your directness. That's so kind of you. I'm glad there's resonance, Yeah. If it resonates with you, that's cool, because it means we can maybe have another conversation in the future. For me, it's really just about the joy about talking about this stuff. And it's great to have people to talk about it with, because it doesn't happen every day, right? Ever hear of Tobias Ricardo, Non-Duality? No. And I'm very hesitant to look at any non-duality videos, because then they come up on my YouTube feed and it just annoys me, because most of it is bullshit. 90% of it is complete nonsense. And I don't want to sift through 100 videos to find one or 10 nice ones, Okay, so if you are on a computer and you go to the About section of this channel, you can find an email address there. If you want to send me an email, if you have any questions, you can send me them, and I'll get back to you whenever I have time. But you have to look that up on a desktop, on a computer. I mean, it doesn't work on the mobile. The email address doesn't show up somehow. Yeah.